Hi, this is Kyle Schwarber, and welcome to the Phillies Show.
Hey, everybody. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zalecki. It's the Phillies Show. It's Friday, May 30th, 2025. Hope everybody is doing well. Phillies open a 3-game series on Friday night against Rhys Hoskins and the Milwaukee Brewers, Jim. And we have Rhys on the show today. We talked to him earlier this week. Good to see a familiar face. We always enjoyed talking to Rhys,
no question.
Yeah, he was always one of the go-to guys in that clubhouse. And you think back, Jim, like he was kind of like thrust immediately into the leadership role, right? In 2017 when he came up, we're all of a sudden, through all the rough times, we're like, let's go talk to Rhys, get his state of the team. He's that type of guy right off the bat.
One of the big young hopes of the rebuild, and he became a kind of a pillar of the rebuild. Team that ended up in the World Series in 2022, but always a class act, smart guy, always a gentleman, very accountable player. He had a lot of big hits for the Phillies, and it's easy to be at your locker when the reporters come in and talk about the nights you had a big hit, but he's also at his locker when the team wasn't going well, when he might have had a bad night. Very accountable guy. Very straightforward guy. So always enjoyed my dealings with him. I remember the first time I really heard his name was from Charlie Manuel. In maybe 2015, Charlie had spent some time watching the minor leagues, and he said, they got a kid down there who he says, this kid really knows how to drive in runs. And it was a pretty good scouting report, because Rhys did know how to drive in runs, and I remember when he came up in 2017, I think he had 3 offers, and he was kind of scratching his head. And then we went to San Diego, and he hits 2 bombs in that big ballpark for his first 2 big league home runs. And one of them came off the bat like a 5-iron, with a beautiful draw, landed in the left field seats. And he goes on to hit 11 home runs in his first 18 big league games. So really great debut. Some real memorable moments. Obviously, I think we all remember the bat spike, and we had some fun talking to him about that. And we talked about some other memorable times in his Phillies tenure.
Well, you had a great, the Mariano Rivera closer of questions. You brought up the fact that I love this question, and I don't want to give too much of it away, but you brought up the tradition he started with the Phillies, which was giving the rock and roll sign to the bullpen after home runs. And I wrote about that story a couple of years ago before the 2023 postseason, when Rhys was coming back from his ACL surgery. There was some thought, like a small chance that maybe he'd come back and play in the World Series. So I said, hey, he would love to come back, obviously, but even if he doesn't come back, you're still going to see some Rhys's influences on the field. And he started that tradition in June of 2018. Remember, he broke his jaw at Dodger Stadium. He goes
never forget that night.
Yes. He breaks his jaw. He's on the injured list. He's in the clubhouse after the game one day. They're blasting rock and roll music. And Hector Neris comes up to him and gives him the rock and roll salute. And then the next day, I guess, or the next couple days later, Rhys, in his first game back from the injury list, hits a home run. And so he flashes the rock and roll signs out to the bullpen, and the bullpen goes crazy. And next thing you know, Rhys is doing it every time he homers. And now, Jim, you see it everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Not just the Phillies. I saw Cody Clemens brought it to Minnesota the other night when
it's everywhere.
Target Field. It's everywhere.
I saw it the other day on ESPN in the NCAA women's softball tournament.
There you go.
So it's everywhere. You salute the bullpen after you hit a home run. You know what? They're happy for you. Might as well give them a little love back.
Exactly. But yeah, I remember writing that story. It was a very fun story to write, and talking to Schwarber and Harper about how, just the thing you do now. You play for the Phillies, you give the sign to the bullpen. So and Rhys is having a really good season for the really Brewers. Good. He's batting .282, .384 on base, .843 OPS, 7 home runs, 29 RBIs. So, and he's helping the Brewers, who they come into this series playing pretty decent baseball. They're 29-28. They've won 4 in a row. He's playing well. And so, Friday night, You have Quinn Priester, right-hander for the Brewers, is 1-2 with a 4.23 ERA facing Taijuan Walker. And then Saturday afternoon, 4:05 start, you've got Chad Patrick, who's 2-4, 2.97 ERA facing Jesus Luzardo. So those are the first two matchups of this series. So should be a good series. Should be good to see Rhys. Fans that, obviously remember.
Yeah, fans. He's a fan favorite. They gave him a great ovation when he came back last year, and I expect they'll do so again. And then, the umpire will yell, "Play ball," and you'll try to beat him up.
Exactly right. So if you can't, before we get to Rhys, I gotta say, if you can't get to the ballpark this week, and you got to stop by Delco, come by my neck of the woods in Delco. People say Delco is a lot. They're right. We have a lot of everything, Jim, family fun, festivals, great restaurants and bars, gardens, history, trails, and outdoor activities. Take it from me. I'm a Delco dad. Check it out for yourself this weekend. This weekend, Saturday, grab the kids. Head to Tyler Arboretum for the Family Explorers Animal All-Stars event. Learn all about local wildlife and have some family fun. It begins at 10 a.m. You need to pre-register, so make sure you do that. Tyler Arboretum. Now, Sunday, June 1st, this is right by my house. My wife's been here. She loves going to this thing with the kids. That's the Delco Annual Italian-American Festival on Sunday. Like I said, at Rose Tree Park from 11 a.m. till 5 p.m. You got Italian music, you got the bocce courts, you got kids' field of fun, and of course, lots of Italian food. It is fun. My wife has been there. She went last year. I think I was on the road and I could not make it, but she's like, we got to go.
I might go to that and order up some gnocchi bolognese.
So there you go. I always stop by Delco, visit Delco. Both of those events will be great if you're looking for something to do this weekend. If you can't get to the Phillies or before the Phillies game, stop by. So, Jim, let's check it out. Rhys Hoskins, here we go. And Rhys, thank you so much for joining the Philly show. It's great to have you on, my man. How are you doing?
Great. Yeah, great here. It's nice to see you three fine gentlemen again. See you guys soon, but it's good to catch up. And we're good here, man. We're in the middle of the season. The rhythm of it's picking up, and the summer is upon us.
And life has completely changed for you now, right? You're a dad,
Completely changed. Yeah. See it through a different lens.
Congratulations,
definitely.
By the way. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. I keep telling people that it's the best thing I've ever done or been as a dad, but it's also the hardest thing I've ever done. But so rewarding every single day. I think, especially at this age, she's 6 months now. And it seems like she's picked up something new pretty much daily, which is just so cool to see.
Yeah, it is awesome. I mean, so we're taping this on Tuesday, and the Brewers are coming in town on Friday. Is it going to feel any differently? Is it going to, have you thought about it at all? What's it going to be like coming to Philly for the second time, as a member of the Brewers, or is it going to be kind of no big deal at this point?
I think it will be different than the last time for sure. Definitely had some butterflies, so to say, last year, just going back for the first time, walking in the different clubhouse for the first time, seeing everybody again. This year's a little bit more just business as usual. I think I haven't thought about it too much really up until this week, mostly for the fact that Phils are a great team and we got our work cut out for us there when we come. So I'm sure it will be great. It always is, playing at Citizens Bank. It'll be great to see a bunch of familiar faces and hopefully beat up on a bunch of old friends.
I was looking at your numbers. I mean, you seem to be swinging the bat really well. Like the traditional numbers are pretty solid, and your on base is where it usually is. Slugging is up for highest in a few years, and even then you look at the advanced metrics. Seems like you're hitting the ball harder. You're not chasing anything, which is, you never really did anyway. But I mean, is it just a matter of you're a year removed further away from the surgery? What can you tell us about the your offensive game right now?
Yeah, I think it's mostly that. Just time is our best friend, I think, when it comes to injury. Obviously, to get physically back into shape or what we feel like is normal. but also just mentally not being a rehabber, right? Like I just got to be an athlete and a baseball player this past off season, and it gave me a great base, I think, going into spring. I've made a little bit of an adjustment in terms of a load at the plate, and I think it's just given me a little bit more time to see the ball better and earlier. And I think that's just getting me into good counts. And, I've said this in the past, but I like my chances when the pitcher has to beat me in the zone. So I'm getting myself into good counts right now and not missing those pitches that are showing up in the middle.
Hey, Rhys, let me follow up a little bit on that one. Was kind of curious, what is that? Can you talk about the specifics of that adjustment, or do you feel uncomfortable doing that?
No, yeah, sure. It's just I've kind of gone away from the leg kick a little bit. The first couple weeks of the season, a little up and down. I felt like I was having good at bats, but not getting great results, missing too many pitches in the middle of the plate. So instead of the leg kick, I kind of just went back to the way I used to hit in college, which was an early toe down or foot down, kind of toe to heel move. And again, like I think it's making my move a little bit more repeatable. My head's moving less, which again, that just makes me see the ball better. So yeah, nothing too earth shattering really. I think I'm just a little bit simpler at the plate, and that's become a lot more repeatable day in and day out over a long season.
And how hard was that to do it in season? I mean, did you actually make that adjustment in season? And because a lot of the times, you're like, I don't want to mess with this right now in season. So it's sort of a different approach.
Yeah, that can be a slippery slope. I think just because it was simplifying in a big way instead of making things a little bit more complicated with what I was already working with, it made it a little bit easier. I had been messing around with it in the cage and batting practice for a couple days prior to initiating in the game, and we found ourselves, kind of up big in a game early against the A's, and I came up with 2 outs and nobody on, and just said, let's see what we got. And of course, I ended up hitting a home run. So I was like, okay, well, that's some early results. And then later on in the game, we facing a pretty nasty right-hander, arms and elbows flailing at you, and a big sinker ball. And ended up getting a base hit to right field in that at bat, which was pretty much all I needed to see. So we just continued to explore that and trying to make it normal now. But again, I just think simplifying has really been my best friend.
If you're a card collector or you'd like to get into card collecting, may I suggest Arena Club and slab packs, which means that you can rip the packs digitally and, of course, get the card that you want. It's also the most trusted name in the game, and I would rather rip packs these days on my phone than sit next to you and have you grabbing one of my physical packs if I was grabbing one.
Yeah, you don't need me grabbing your packs, because last time you grabbed one, it ended up like this card. So let's not have that, and that's why Arena Club is great. They send them to you in these fancy protectors like this Scout Braun card that we have here, and they'll come safe. They're already graded. Or you could do like I do and just leave my cards in the showroom and never actually see them physically.
Yeah.
But they're safe, protected, and if I want to sell them, I can.
Buy, sell, trade. They offer full transparency, showing every card in the slab pack with the likelihood of pulling each one, so you know exactly what's available before you buy. Get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/FAL and use code FAL.
That's really interesting stuff, Rhys. It's great to see you, buddy. Because I remember the leg kick. It was born in the batting cage in Clearwater, at the stadium in Clearwater when you were, I think, in A-ball. Or no, it was instructional league after your first year with Andy Tracy, Joe Jordan, and those guys. So it really served you well for a whole bunch of years, right?
Oh, 100%. And, I think to Ruben's point, it's hard to ditch the date that you brought to the dance, or that maybe even got you to the dance. But I was just sick of being late, basically. So my goal was just to be on time more. But yeah, certainly, right? Like the leg kick was written about and talked about a bunch. And I really think it helped me propel into, being an established player in this game, but now having some experience and knowing what it's like to hit in the big leagues, especially with, stuff the way that it is now from the pitching standpoint. Sometimes you got to make adjustments, and that's what this game calls for. So I just decided it was time.
So, you mentioned when the pitch is in the zone, you like your chances. And as Todd mentioned, we're taping on Tuesday, a few days before you come to town with the Brewers. And, pitch in the zone. And like I said, it's Tuesday. And, Spencer Strider is pitching in Philadelphia on Tuesday night. And when I think of Spencer Strider, I think of you not missing in that playoff series, hitting that humongo home run and then that unbelievable cathartic bat spike that you could feel all the way up to center city. And when I think of that kind of iconic moment, I think of Chase Utley. We had him on the podcast a while back, and we asked him about, his WFC and where's the coolest place he ever heard somebody yell that to him. And he said in a clothing store in London and on a ski slope in Switzerland. Okay, so I'm wondering, like, anywhere interesting somebody has brought up that hellacious bat spike?
Definitely not as cool as a ski slope in Switzerland, but that's okay. Chase is a little bit cooler than I am, and I'm cool with that. Maybe some common ground that I can find with the people of Philadelphia. I got a congrats and an awesome moment from a New Yorker while we were playing the Mets last year in a coffee shop. Just saying, hey, that was incredible, as somebody else who doesn't like the Braves. Was pretty cool from a baseball standpoint to see that happen and just the emotion that you were playing with. So maybe not as cool, but maybe more unlikely. Let's say that. So that's pretty cool.
But a cool moment. I mean, that does that moment still make kind of the hair on the back of your neck stand up?
The playoff, Jim, it's what we play for as athletes. I still think the coolest part about the whole thing was the fact that it was the first game at Citizens Bank in, a decade, playoff game in over a decade there. So just a lot coming together in one moment and, pretty memorable because of it.
No doubt.
I can't remember. I think I might have asked you this in the past, but where is the bat? Do you have it displayed somewhere, or are you somebody who just kind of keeps it in a box in the corner and, like, when I'm done playing baseball, I'll throw it up on a wall in a trophy case or something like that?
Yeah, it's I'm in the middle of a move and a remodel back home. So not displayed, but I know exactly where it is. And I'm sure at some point it will end up on a wall. So that, that story can be talked about as much as we want, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, know exactly where it is. Used it throughout the playoffs because how can you not after that? And ended up, I think, switching in the World Series, getting some new wood, and told Phil, hey, let's make sure we know where this one's at. I want to make sure I have this one. So it's back home. But yeah, eventually we'll end up on a wall.
Hey, the Brewers obviously have a great fan base. They love their brew crew. I was just kind of curious as far as fan bases are concerned. There's Philadelphia and there's other cities. How do these two compare? And what you're feeling when you're connecting with them?
Well, I think their love for their team is they're both admirable fan bases in that regard. But I obviously know, as a home player, I only know two. But I get the impression that it's hard to compare fan bases to the Philly fan base, for good and for bad, really. But yeah, I mean, these people up here in the Midwest and Wisconsin, they love their sports. They're diehard in different ways. Every day game we have tailgaters from, when we're pulling up to the ballpark, people are there. It's just different. Not bad by any means, or in any way, but They do love their sports up here, and we definitely feel that. We had a great crowd yesterday, got to have the roof open. Summer is coming here in Wisconsin, and the people look forward to that. We definitely feel that on the field.
How would you compare Rob Thomson to Pat Murphy? Seem like different guys, but two guys maybe you both enjoyed, playing for.
Yeah, definitely different, but both just baseball guys at their core. Obviously, a ton of years of experience from on both sides. Murph, a ton of experience in college baseball, and I think we tend to see that sometimes with his emotions on his sleeve. But we love that as his players. We know exactly what we're getting as soon as we walk in the clubhouse doors, about where he's at and what he expects of us. Whereas Tom's, and I think this maybe has a little bit to do with the type of clubhouse that each manager has, but Tom's is super level-headed, trusts his guys that they're gonna do what they need to do to prepare for the game that night, and kind of just goes out and lets some of that happen. Steps in when he feels like he needs to, but Murph is ready to light a fire under us at any moment, because that's just how he approaches his life, with intensity. But also, I think both know how to keep a room light when it's needed. And that's, super helpful over a 162 game season when we really can get lost in the shuffle of the day to day. So both amazing guys, different, but I feel pretty lucky to have played for both.
Yeah. I know you're focused on your team and your season. Do you ever use a half a glance to keep track of the Phillies and your old friends, keep in touch with anybody and how they're doing?
Yeah, I do. I mean, Jim, I'm a baseball fan, so I watch, what's going on around the league, really. I know they were just in Sacramento, so yeah. I had a few conversations with guys about, places to check out or coffee to go get or food to go get. I haven't talked to them since they've gotten back, but I'm sure I'll get a chance to just catch up with how it was playing there, on a field that I've played there before in high school, and actually a little bit in college too. So, yeah, I mean, I know they're right at the top of the National League, if not the league in terms of record. I know, the normal culprits are doing their thing, and they're getting a lot of help from a lot of players up and down the bench and the lineup too. So we know that it's a complete team. I'll try to stay in touch with a couple guys that I became good friends with over the years. I'll hear from Schwarber. I'll hear from JT every once in a while. I'll hear from Brandon Marsh every once in a while too. So yeah, it's always great to see old names pop up on your phone, and get a chance to catch up with them.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of food and coffee and stuff, I know that you were a frequenter of Phillies Social Club. I've seen you in there once or twice, and was just there recently. Are you any plans to go there while you're here, or is it because of since you're bringing your daughter? Is there a chance to get out there?
Yeah, we were actually just talking about that last night, about a couple places that we want to try to get to. Polizzi's always at the top of our list. Some of our favorite food in the whole city. We were actually just curious, talking, with Jamie about whether or not they would allow her in there, as it's a little bit more of a bar setting. So we'll see. We've already kind of made some contact with some of the guys there that we know. They always take care of us extremely well. And if not Polizzi, I'm sure we're going to be well fed. We got a few others on our list. Sally is one that's also in the city. And then Soraya is a Mediterranean style place up in Fishtown that we frequent a lot too, or used to frequent. Yep. So we'll see where we end up, but those are kind of the top of our list whenever we can return to Philly.
Very cool.
So, well, since you went there, Ruben went to the food topic. Bratwurst or cheesesteak?
I got to choose a brat. A brat's just a little bit more classic, I think. Obviously, I had my fair share of cheesesteaks, and I can't wait to have one from the visiting clubhouse when we go. But abroad is maybe more easily enjoyed at all times of the day, whereas a cheesesteak can kind of put you on your butt. You're not ready for it, so I'll choose abroad.
You won't be trying to.
Go ahead, Todd. I wanted to tell Rhys real quick because this hasn't come up. Todd is a Milwaukee native.
Yes.
He grew up a Brew Crew fan. He's still a Packers fan. You guys want to do any Milwaukee thing?
Well, I mean, I would just if you checked out, like, I don't even know if you have time, like Summerfest, any of those types of things. Have you gotten down to the lake shore and seen any concerts or anything like that?
Unfortunately, no. Just obviously with our schedule. I lived right down in that Summerfest area at the start of last season, so definitely got a sense of what goes on. But that's kind of that whole area down there, and really even into downtown is there is something going on outside every single day, whether it's concerts or some sort of cultural festival. It's just I think a great excuse for the people of this city to be outside. But there's always something going on down there. I learned that pretty quickly.
That's because the summer lasts like 3 months, so you have to like squeeze out every freaking day you can, because if you don't go outside, it's going to be 40 degrees in September 15th. But when I see you, obviously a lot of different fun Phillies moments pop into my head, and one I wanted to ask you, you kind of jogged my memory because you talked about running into the New York fan up in New York. Was that ridiculously slow home run trot at Citi Field? What do you remember about that? And does anybody ever still mention that one to you? Because that one always brings a smile to my face, because it was so much fun, and I think it was so much fun for Phillies fans as well, because Phillies Mets.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the rivalries in general, right? Like, that one does not get brought up. It was pretty early on in my career, and something has happened between now and then with myself and the Mets that maybe gets talked about first when that's brought up. But what do I remember? Again, getting thrown at a couple times up near the head area, which none of us hitters like. So I guess found a great opportunity to take a little pettiness back to them, and again, all in good competition.
Right.
Not trying to disrespect anybody, but I felt like I had maybe earned that a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
One thing I forgot about, Rhys, is you are a trendsetter, and you know where I'm going with this, with the high five to the bullpen after a home run.
That's right.
It's done everywhere now. I see it in college baseball all the time. Up, major leagues, minor leagues. It's in college. I'm sure it's in high school ball when a kid, hits a home run. How does that? They ought to call that the Hoskins. I mean, how does that feel to have that impact on the game?
Yeah, I mean, I notice it for sure, and then go back to the conversations with you guys about where did that come from and how did that start, and it doesn't get. People don't talk to me about that a little bit. People in my family, kind of mention that as well, but. Yeah, it's awesome, really. Like it's such a cool thing. Again, I think that we should acknowledge those guys out there more often. We're always looking at the dugout. I mean, I even notice guys now sometimes on base hits or doubles, they look towards the bullpen first before they look towards the dugout. So I'm always curious to see what guys do, right? Like what's their mode of salute, I guess, to say out there. And there's some pretty good ones and creative ones too. So definitely a cool thing, and something that I hope continues really.
You should be proud of that, because it's symbolic of the kind of teammate you were, a very inclusive guy in that clubhouse, bringing people together. So hats off.
I appreciate it, Jim. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's a great way to end. I mean, that's just a great way to end. So Rhys, thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate the time, and I look forward to seeing you on Friday.
Yeah, guys. Thanks for the time too.
See you soon.
See y'all soon.
Thanks again to Rhys, Jim. That was great. That was
Sure
great.
was. Yep.
We will be back next week, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Smell you later, Todd.
Smell ya. The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, give us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Threads. Find Ruben's analysis before, during, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Find Jim at allphly.com. Find me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and MLB Network.